welcome to Mr. Randy's Wine and Spirits. I am Mr. Randy. Today we're going to be doing another episode of The Final Pour. Now, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Have a seat. Let's have a show. So, this episode series, Last Pours, are basically the final conclusion of a bottle in its review series. So, initially we have Off the Rip, which basically is the first opening, the first pour, the first initial impressions of the whiskey in the bottle. That's usually, like I said, off the pour. It's usually the neck to the shoulder. And then we get down to the midsection. That's where we're going to do the full review, as much information as I can gather and present to you in a timely manner. Finally, we're going to do this series, which is, the final pour. Basically, when we get down to the very last bit, we're going to find out how much the whiskey changes when it's down to the final pour. The one caveat that comes with this series is that I do not let these bottles with this much sit on my shelves for a long period of time. I have limited amount of space on my shelves, and it can only accommodate so many bottles. So there's a lot of bottles that are, rotating in and out of this system that I have going on. So I cannot buy another bottle until I have space for it on the shelf. The only exception to that would be like a Redwood Empire or a Penelope. And if you know those two bottles, you understand why. Those bottles are very tall. They do not fit on my shelves. So it would have to sit on my desk, and I can't clutter my desk because I have a lot of stuff going on, and it is what it is. But enough of that. Today we're going to be doing the Woodford Reserve Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey. Now, I did kind of relatively like this whiskey. We're just going to go ahead and... that's a little more than... That's fine. Now, that is a nice deep brown, deep gold brown, brown gold. We've already put it under the whiskey color scale. Let's check out, let's see if we retained much viscosity. It's clinging pretty well. It's not wanting to start any legs up. Excuse me. Now, the nose seems a bit muted. I do remember that this rye did have kind of a high-end punchiness to it. This seems a bit muted. Now, also keep in mind that this is a 375. Most people would probably be buying the 750 standard. So it might take a little longer. And that way it would probably affect... I'm not really sure how that would affect the whiskey in the bottle. I think it would be scale. It would be on a scale, of half or 50%. Maybe more, maybe less, relatively within that range. A 750 is going to have, halfway, it's going to have 370. It's going to have that much of air on top of it. So I wonder how that would affect it. There are a lot of experiments I'd like to do. It's just so difficult to schedule all these things into it. And I don't have the time or the space to be doing all these experiments and having all these reviews set up. So it's got a slightly muted nose, which is not bad. Like I said, the initial, when I first started this bottle, it was a little high pitched. It was a little, intense, not too much, but kind of is. But now we're in the last pour. It's actually not too aggressive. Let's go ahead and get on the palate. Yeah. It is, the palate is also a bit muted. Not bad though. I have to kind of say, maybe I do appreciate it a little bit muted. Now it's not that much of a proofer. It's only a 45.2. Now if it was a little more higher proof, like maybe 100 or more, I would suggest maybe proofing it down to ease it up a little bit, but it's not bad. And it's kind of a shame they had to get to this far down to the bottle, to the last pour or two, before it actually started getting relatively nice. So one more on the palate. I gotta say, there are some bottles that I've gotten into when it comes down to the last pour or two that they are extremely muted, extremely dull. They have this like, how do you say, like a sourness to it. Like the chemicals have started breaking down. The liquid is off gas as much as it can, and it becomes like a soda goes flat. A whiskey kind of goes flat in the same kind of sense. You leave it in the bottle with enough air, enough time, it robs it of anything worth drinking. Now, I think this was probably about spot on, you know, just that right sweet spot makes it a little more enjoyable. Let's go ahead and get a finish on it. Yeah, it is a little bit muted, a little more mellow, a little more easy, which makes it a little more better. As far as my opinion goes, I feel like it's a little better after it's been allowed to give it enough room, give it enough time, and it actually becomes a little bit better. And in all honesty, I was a little generous off the rip in the full review. But especially considering I've tried other ryes up to this point, and I can really taste what a rye can really be. The Woodford Reserve, you know, a little bit much on the front, on the rip, a little bit still on the midsection where we do the full review, but on the last pour, I gotta say that's much better than the rest of the bottle's been. Let us know in the comments, what do you think? Do you think a whiskey, whether it be a bourbon, a rye, a scotch, an Irish, whatever it may be, do you think it would be a little bit easier at the very bottom of the bottle? Let us know in the comments, and as always, thanks for stopping by here at Mr. Randy's Wine and Spirits. I am Mr. Randy. You have a good one.